So in this trick tip, I'm going to be teaching you how to board slide. What you need to do is put 1 foot here, 1 foot here, do an 87.3 degree ollie onto the rail, straddle the rail, slide and roll away. Okay, now I'm messing. This isn't going to be a normal trick tip where I'm just telling you exactly what to do, because there isn't one perfect technique that's going to work for everyone. Instead, I'm going to be using the progression method to show you a bunch of different skate tasks and exercises that I've just used with one of the skaters that I work with to go from being unable to commit to a board slide to getting them down perfect in literally just a few weeks. So the beauty of this method is that it doesn't just help you learn the skill of board slides, but it also helps you overcome the fear of actually committing to it, which is arguably the hardest thing when it comes down to learning board slides. Okay, so we're just going to quickly break down what's actually happening when we're doing a board slide, because it's not as simple as just ollieing 90 degrees, landing on the rail, sliding and rolling away. There's a lot going on, especially within your body, to actually allow you to do this trick. So we're going to go over these now using the most legendary board slide clip in skateboarding history, Steve Cab's board slide down. I don't know, it's like a 30 stair back in, I think, the 90s. And man, one thing I love about this board slide is the fact that he really just fully balances bang in the middle of the board. I love it. Great maneuver, Steve, if you're watching this. I'm proud of you. First off, you'll see that as you actually ollie into the rail, there's a big shift in body position that you're having to completely restabilize. That's a skill in itself. Dynamic stability, the ability to restabilize as you change your body's position to stop it from continuing going in the way that you've actually jumped. Next up, when we actually land in the rail, you'll see that hopefully there's a flex in the ankle, knees and hips, which are gonna allow the muscles around those joints to actually work. Because if your legs are completely straight, those muscles don't have leverage around those joints to actually function and to activate and stabilize yourself. So you need that flex to not only contribute to stability, but to absorb a bit of the impact as you land on the rail as well. Next up, when we're sliding down the rail, man, now there's a lot of shit that's going on behind the scenes right now. So as he's sliding down this rail, literally thousands of times a second, there's information getting sent back into his nervous system on the position of his body and how it's actually moving as he tries to stabilize himself going down this rail. That information is then going to be received, processed, and the body and nervous system is going to be like, all right, I need to swing this arm a little bit like this, or I need to contract this muscle a little bit like this to pull me back into position, or change the position of my hips, all to keep you stable as you actually go down the rail. And you can see him doing that as he's going down. He's moving his body a little bit, swinging one arm a little bit, and doing these different positions and changing his body in different ways to keep himself stable. He's not thinking about all this shit. This is just happening instinctively from all of the years of practice doing this trick. Now there are some exercises that I'm going to be showing you later that will help your body just become a better stabilizing machine. But number one, when it comes down to getting better at board slides, is obviously just skating. So let's get back to the skate park, hit some of these skate tasks that are going to help you actually learn board slides. Okay, so now we're going to go through the skate tasks that are going to help you unlock board slides. So I've broken these down into two main areas that I think people struggle with. So number one is learning how to get your weight fully on top of the rail, and the second bit is learning how to slide and getting comfortable with actually the sensation of sliding. So for the first skate task, we're going to practice literally just locking into a board stool on the ledge. Now, why are we doing it on a ledge? Well, there's not really any risk of slipping out on a ledge unless it's caked in wax, but this has got nothing. So if I've got my wheel down there, I'm not going anywhere. I can just lock in, and that risk of slipping back and that fear of slipping back that so many people have is just removed from the situation. So we can really start practicing getting that sensation of ollieing and landing with our weight on top of something. Now, if we go back to that board slide breakdown in the beginning, one of the key things of actually doing the board slide was flexing our joints, right, to absorb a little bit of that impact and help us to stabilize ourselves. Now, I don't want you to think though, okay, I need to get into the board slide and flex my ankle, flex my knee, flex my hip, because it's just way too much to think about. What you can think instead is just absorbing a little bit of the impact when you actually land on the stool. Because what do you do naturally if you try and absorb impact with a jump on the ground? You're gonna flex your joints, right? If I tell you absorb, you're not gonna land rigid like that. You're gonna flex those joints. So if you're thinking as you're ollieing into that board stool, absorbing a little bit, the impact, hopefully you're gonna naturally just flex those joints. So once that feels comfortable going straight, you're gonna gradually start opening up the angle and doing the exact same thing. So I'm going at like 45 degrees now, ollieing in, absorbing it, and then gradually, little by little, opening up the angle until you're going almost parallel to the thing, because that's the angle that we would want to actually do for a board slide. Okay, so for the next skate task, we're going to be working on getting comfortable with that sensation of actually sliding, and we're going to be using a ledge again. You pick a ledge height that feels comfortable for you. This is literally the only one I've got in the park that I can use for this. So the good thing about using the ledge to practice the slide is that by default, you don't have to get your weight fully on top. So again, one of the biggest fears that people have of committing to sliding on a rail is the sensation of slipping out and landing on top of the rail. But with a board slide on a ledge, if we're coming at it like this and sliding like this, the only way that we can do it is if we're actually leaning off. So we can practice getting that sensation of sliding and leaning off the ledge. So if we do actually slip out, we're slipping out over here. We're not gonna land on the ledge. So hopefully it will help you break down that fear. So we're really gonna focus on getting into the slide, but with our weight off, all right? So it's gonna look something like this, just at the end. If I do fall back, which I'm probably not gonna, but if I do fall back, I'm falling off this way. So hopefully you're not gonna be scared of that. So if you feel more comfortable doing it on a rail, it's gonna be the exact same thing. We're gonna get in at like a 45-degree angle with our weight leaning off the rail. So it's gonna look something like this. Body weight off and just, you know, kick it off. Now, a couple of things that you can play around with that might help reduce the fear of sliding even more so is, number one, leaning forwards when you actually get into the slide. So it's gonna look something like this. If I'm leaning forwards, then again, there's no chance of me slipping back. If I fall, I'm falling forwards. You see how I run out in that direction? There is 0% chance, due to physics, due to quantum astrophysiology, that I'm gonna land on top of that rail. It's just impossible. So that's number one. The other thing as well is you might like to go at a big angle in the same way that we did with the first skate task, like so. You're almost doing a stall, because in a similar way as that leaning forwards thing, it's going to just reduce the chance of you actually landing back on the rail. And as you get more comfortable with the feeling of sliding, then you can start opening up that angle a little bit. So once you've practiced the skill of landing of your weight on top of something and also got used to the feeling of sliding a board slide, we're going to combine the two skills into the third skate task, which is literally just trying to land the slide. So for this, you can take that same approach that I've gone over before of landing at a bit of an angle with your weight off, just so it keeps that fear of slipping back out from your head. You can also go at a bit of a straight angle as well, if that's something that you feel might help you. Just play around with different things that you feel comfortable with that allow you to actually commit to the trick. I would say as well, don't focus so much on getting like a nice 90-degree turn out of the slide yet. Just get used to landing with your feet on the board, even if that's just, you know, like straight off like that with no turn. If you've gone for that straighter option, you can work on increasing the angle little by little, the more comfortable that you actually get with it. Like so, until eventually you're like, bruv, I can go full parallel, you get me? Alright, and once you're comfortable landing on the board, the final skate task is to play around with how to come out to normal. So I'm not going to give you any specifics here. We're going to go into exploration mode, and all I'm going to say is pay attention to the upper body. Explore what happens when you keep your shoulders a bit more open or a bit more closed. Play around with those different options and see which one works better for you. So now we're going to be going on to the exercises that are going to help with board slides, and these are focused primarily on things like resisting movement in all three planes of motion, as we saw in Steve Cap's board slide and also in the last skate task when we started to actually come out to normal with that board slide. We have to be able to resist the rotation that keeps us going in the opposite direction if we actually want to come out straight. So we're going to be training that anti-movement with these exercises, and they're also going to help us create awareness around what's the best position for our bodies to be in to actually stabilize. Now obviously these are just a few exercises out of thousands that you could pick. There are so many different exercises that you can do, and we're also only focusing on one specific piece of skating right here, but there are exercises for all different areas like pop, endurance, mobility, longevity, and all these different things that you're going to get from doing a bunch of different exercises. So if you're looking for a full program as well, I'm going to link the MBD 12-week program down below. It's got a bunch of different exercises that hit all of those different areas of skating, including the things that we're going to be hitting in this video now as well. Or if you just want to go full on and not just get training help, but also help with certain tricks, nutrition, recovery, and a bunch more other stuff, then you can check out the coaching that I do for skaters. I'll link that down in the description below too. So the best position for us to be in for these different exercises, and pretty much all exercises, is to have our rib cage stacked nice and top of the pelvis like this. If we've got the pelvis tipped forwards like that, or the rib cage back like this, so you're kind of in that position, it's just a much worse position for you to be in to actually stabilize and generate force and even move how your body is designed to move. So we want to think, all right, finding that neutral position, pretty much everything stacked on top. All right, so for exercise number 1, we're gonna come down onto all fours, get ourselves in that nice aligned stacked position, and we're gonna practice moving our limbs as we keep our core 100% stable. So we're gonna move our legs first, then our arms, and then combine the two. So we'll start off by sending that back leg completely back. You're thinking heel to the back of an imaginary wall that's behind you, not up like that. Why? Because when you go up, you're gonna lose that nice core position. You're gonna have to arch your back. So you're thinking straight back like that, trying to keep it stable, place the knee down, go to the other side, and then the exact same shit for the arms as well. So you're thinking arms straight ahead within your shoulder range of motion, so not up like that, because it's gonna cause you to arch your back as well. So go through whatever range of motion you have at the shoulder, and then repeat for the other side. What you can do then is actually do alternating sides. So right arm and left leg, boom, trying to keep the core completely still, not moving anything else, placing them back down, and then doing the same for the other side. And then the next step is gonna be right arm, right leg. Nah, I'm joking, we're not really gonna do that. One thing you can do though is you can place something like a bottle or a ball on your back like this, and that's gonna give you feedback on how your spine's moving. So if I go through the exercise now, I've really gotta focus on keeping that thing, keeping my core completely stable. Otherwise, if I don't, and I say lift too far to one side, it's gonna fall off. So that thing on our back is giving us feedback on how we're actually moving the core and how we need to position ourselves to stay stable. So for exercise number 2, we're just gonna be doing a classic side plank, which is training that anti-lateral motion. So we're trying to resist this motion right here. So to set yourself up, you're gonna go elbow straight under the shoulder, and you can either have your foot up on top of the other one or out in front of you like that, whichever feels more comfortable. And you're just gonna lift yourself up so there's a straight line from your head all the way down to your heels. You also wanna keep your whole body parallel to an imaginary wall that's out in front of you. So you're not curving forwards like this. You're essentially stacking your shoulders on top of the other shoulder and just keeping everything nice and straight. In this position, you're just gonna hold it, breathe through the nose, and then repeat for the other side in the exact same way. So the next exercise is again a classic, the front plank. We're gonna be training anti-extension for this one. So this is resisting this motion right here. You wanna have your elbows stacked again right under the shoulders and a straight line from your head all the way down to your heels. So it can be useful maybe for this one to do it in front of a mirror just to make sure you've got that good setup. You're gonna come up like that. You're gonna be pushing away with your shoulders so you're not sagging down like this, pushing away into the ground, keeping them nice and active, and you're just holding this position right here. Also not looking up, so you're keeping everything nice and in line. Don't forget that stacked position, pelvis under the ribs that I spoke about at the start as well. So the next exercise is a hip thrust ISO. We're gonna train that anti-flexion and train ourselves to be nice and strong along the back of the body. So to set up, you wanna find something that's more or less about knee height, something that allows you to find a pretty straight line from the knees up to the shoulders when you're up with your back on top of the thing. You're gonna come up with your shoulder blades on the edge. Now, the further off you are from the thing that you're supporting yourself on, the more intense it's gonna be. So if I go back with more back, it's gonna be less intense. So you pick an intensity that feels comfortable for you. So I've got my shoulder blades on the edge of the thing. I've got my feet straight underneath my knees and a straight line from my feet to my knees to my hips. Everything's in line this way. And there's a straight line from my knee to my shoulders as well, like this. Now, this is super simple. What you can do as well is you can lift up alternating sides. So you're gonna hold up the one leg, hold that position, squeeze the glute on the right side, hold that position, and then alternate to the other side, putting the foot back down in the same place. Making sure that when we do that swap, we're not dropping the hip, so we're keeping everything nice and solid, nice and stable, like so. Now, it's common for people to feel this one too much in the back and too much in the hamstrings. For the back, it's usually because they've come up too high. So to figure out what that good position is, I want you to come up, 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 until you feel it in the back, and then come down a little bit to that point just before that back takes over. So start again from the bottom, come up, just before you feel it in the back, that's that optimal position. For the hamstrings, it can usually be because you've got your feet too far out like this. So I want you to think feet straight under those knees, and that should resolve the hamstring issue. So for the next exercise, we're training anti-rotation, which is our body's ability to resist this kind of movement. Usually I would use a band for this, but I forgot my band. So I'm gonna show you a way you can do it without a band, using something that you can push into. So it's gonna look something like this. I'm gonna be pushing into this thing, and this is causing me to wanna rotate in that way, but I'm having to resist it. So to set yourself up, you want your feet to be pretty much underneath your hips. You want a nice flex in the knees and the hips, so you've got that active position right there. And you want the thing that you're gonna be pushing into to be in line with the belly button and at a distance where you can fully extend your arms and push into the side. So I've got my hands like that, and I'm gonna be pushing into the side of my hands like so. So I've set myself up in that nice position, fully extend the arm so my hand is in line with the belly button, and now I'm just gonna push into the thing that I'm pushing into. You're really gonna feel your core light up for this one. Keep those shoulder blades as well, push forwards a tiny little bit, so we're not keeping everything scrunched up and back, we're allowing them to come forwards a nice bit. And once you've done the one side, you'll alternate and go on to do the same exercise, but now pushing in the opposite direction. So we're having to resist that anti-rotation in the other direction. Again, make sure you're nice and stacked, so you've got the ribs on top of the pelvis, you're not curving forwards like this or arching back too much, and just keep that nice stack going. All right, so that's it for this video. I really hope these skate tasks and exercises help you figure out board slides. I'd love it as well if you came back to the video after trying them and letting me know if they've actually helped. If you've actually been able to figure out board slides, I'd love to get that feedback. That would be amazing for me to hear. So come back and drop a comment. Also drop any comments with what you thought about the video in general, and I'll be putting links for the MBD program and coaching in the description as well, so you can check those out if you're interested. And that's it for this one. All right, peace.